Hello, hello, hello. I am crossing my fingers, by the way, that you can hear me loud and clear, because I'm not sure that you can. And if you cannot, give me a holler in the chat or something so I'm aware. I'm changing things around because if Ethereum crashes, I'm committed to do live karaoke on the YouTube channel. And so I'm changing my software around to make everything work so that I can do what I committed doing. So I'm not sure. If you can hear me, only just to verify that you can hear me, just give me a like or a thumbs up to be aware that, yes, you can hear me loud and clear. And I'm going to be jumping straight in under the assumption that you can, even if I don't get anything, because I've got a couple of topics and I am concerned, problematic, things that I'm not surprised, but I'm disappointed. I guess I'll just put it that way. First, let's go ahead and talk real quick about the so-called Lunk Challenge, as I call it. Of course, the Lunk Challenge is my attempt to try to give back to the Luna Classic community by burning a segment of cryptocurrency based on the stats of the prior week's video. And so I'll continue doing this. The profile, the link to go see that is in the Twitter. So my Twitter handle's down there. Go to the Twitter profile and you can click and see all the burns that I've done so far. Last week's video, we had a pretty good back and forth on that one. Comes out to about another $20. So I'll be burning another $20 on this week's Lunk Challenge. I'm excited to continue doing it. However, I'm going to be talking about Luna Classic and some of the chaos that's going on very recently. And I'm not going to show anything on that one. That's going to be just kind of talk pieces because there's a lot of stupidity, nonsense, idiocy with that garbage. And I want to just talk it through, make sure from my perspective, here's what I see, and kind of take it and go from there. So big picture, I think my gut tells me that cryptocurrency is hitting kind of this rough spot it'll go away eventually, but I'm not sure when. I'm not sure why it got to this point. I'm not sure what we do next. I'm not sure if there's anything can be done in the rest of 2022 that's going to change what I see coming. And that's what I want to talk about. And for that, we're going to go take a look at some graph behavior, starting with my favorite Ethereum. And I zoom out to the month chart as always. And if you notice, Ethereum is somewhat hitting a bit of a green. This is good. However, it's still struggling a bit. And as it continues to struggle, and hopefully it won't for the foreseeable future, but as it continues to struggle, I think we've got some work to do overall. And my gut tells me that we're still on deck to see a little bit of rough patch in Q1. However, I saw some shifts. So there's a lot of money coming back in Ethereum. There's a lot of money coming back in Bitcoin. And this is a very, very good thing. How good of a thing is this? For Bitcoin, I no longer see the absolute catastrophe I once saw. Since Bitcoin doesn't look to be in as bad of a situation, it means Ethereum, because I see Ethereum going to be more bullish long-term than Bitcoin by far. It means Ethereum is poised for a really good initial set. I still see that there's going to be kind of some problematic spots in this. I still see that there's going to be some challenges. I'm not suggesting that it's not going to have some pain in 2023. I do see the pain, simply that it's not as bad as it was once projected to be early on. Early on, I don't even know, just the excessive amount of liquidations. People speculated that what was happening with FTX and the fact that apparently there was some chatter that the whole FTX situation was really the root cause of a lot of the chaos we saw before. It's just that we didn't know it. In other words, when Terra Luna at the time crashed and burned, people thought, okay, Do Rug Pull, aka Do Kwon, he basically killed the business, and it was so intertwined. Well, we know that money was involved. We know that there was a lot of this. Then there was these articles that Do Rug Pull was trying to dump Bitcoin in it. He tried to save it. It doesn't change the fact that the man ultimately ducked smoke by what essentially turned out being a rug pull, because you lost money, you lost value, and then forked it off to Luna Classic and then Luna. And then both of them were essentially struggling, right? So nobody really went out. On the news side, they got the initial pumps and everything. And if you didn't remember, your distributions are happening on a regular basis that they dictated. So they were holding back tokens, and then you get these distributions that are happening, I believe it was like every 3 months or something. So there may be tokens that just magically show up on the new Luna side. That's fine. But at the end of the day, you lost money, you lost value because of Doe rug pull. That's a fact. But this now we're finding that FTX was more involved than people thought. And FTX, part of its collapse was really what happened. Three Arrows Capital just recently came out and said, no, actually it was FTX that crashed this. It wasn't Luna. Well, the question is, why didn't you say that at the time, you jerk offs? Why didn't you just be open and say, this wasn't Terra Luna, it wasn't their fault, it actually had other things. So now you start thinking, was some money exchanging hands to kind of keep people silent? This goes back to like the mob days, right? Of people just silently slipping some cash over the table to keep people to shut up, make people shut up over what is really happening under the hood. Now you're wondering, well, if Terra Luna wasn't the reason that things crashed, and it actually was over this FTX, I think that's causing some of this sentiment shift. I don't know that that makes any sense, but that's what it looks like to me. Side note, YouTube's doing funky things again. So if it's doing funky things for you, I apologize, but YouTube's having some network issues or whatever, because the stream's perfect on my side, but it may be having issues when it uploads. And I apologize on that on the live. I will check it after the stream's done. And if there's an issue, I will re-upload it as corrected if I can. So just as a side note, if you guys don't see any issues, let me know. But YouTube swears there's problems, and I don't know why. So then, moving right along then. Here's Ethereum. We look at that. Here's Bitcoin on the month, and it's basically doing roughly about the same thing. Same rough behavior, same situation. Great, because it means that what we're seeing with Ethereum is largely governed by Bitcoin behaviors. And Bitcoin behaviors in a recovery is actually a good thing overall. I like to see that. I like to see that we're getting to some level of sanity. On the Bitcoin side then, the long play for Bitcoin is still in a trouble spot, but nowhere near as bad as it was. I don't see that it'll go beneath 10,000, but I do see, and in December in the minimum, and for Q1 even, looks good. So we're buying some time. Money's flowing back into these things. That's good. If there's another catalyst that crashes things, that's what it is. But for right now, everything's looking good in the big picture and the big play. So hopefully this is a precursor to getting closer to a full recovery. Now, of course, you still got the Gary Gensler's of the world. You still got those. Let's spitball it, right? My guess is one of them, Jerome Powell, Gary Gensler, Elizabeth Warren, one of them, within the next 2 weeks prior to Christmas, one of them is going to come out and say something that kills the business. Let's see if I get that right, because it seems like they do that right on cue. I'm just highly skeptical, and maybe I get that wrong. I hope I'm wrong, but I see that that's what they're doing. So big picture, long term, money's flowing in. That's a good thing. How long will it last? I don't know. Will it trigger a run? I don't know. And for everybody that's out there that's kind of watching in the wings, I don't have any additional information about the shifts other than that money is flowing into things, and that can't be a bad thing. So now, Terrarium. I don't know. I do, but I don't know why Terrarium went so far south. It feels like Terrarium is like every other freaking cryptocurrency out there, and I've got some context built up here. So let me preface. I have never talked about Terrarium to an excessive degree. And at the time, and Crypto Fitness and Gaming, welcome. Sounds like you can hear me, because otherwise you wouldn't say something. Thank you. Welcome. Terrarium, it seems to me like Terrarium is led by people who are treating it like a real business to their detriment. And by which I mean, yes, you want to act like a real business, but there's certain things that are applicable to cryptocurrency and understandings that you should maintain because it's in the best interest of your investor pool. And I don't think Terrarium ever did this. So way back yonder, I did coverage, high-level coverage of Terrarium, and I went back and tracked my own deal. And at the time, I said, I refused to cover this dude. And I got attacked 10 ways to Sunday by the Terrarium community. Not all, but I'd say 99% of the Terraria community attacked me because of what I said. The screenshot that you see here, this came from the first version of their white paper. So if you look, they told you in the first version of the white paper, basically, hey, look, your Terraria might not have any value. We don't guarantee any liquidity. It's not an investment. Now, fast forward. Recently, Terrarium did a major dump, and we're talking well over 180 ETH dump. That was confirmed to be the marketing wallet for Terrarium. This was also confirmed to tie back to apparently Milton in the ecosystem, dumping off the project. I've got a video here from Believes, who also has done coverage on Terrarium. He's arguably done more coverage on Terrarium than most others, and he's talked highly about them in the past, and he was candid about what he felt about this situation. But I want to tell the timeline here because it's important. My video was 9 months ago where I told you in the first version of the white paper, they straight told you, you have no guarantee. You have no guarantee of anything. And for crypto fitness and gaming, the truth is, no, it's wrong. Like everything saying here is wrong. At least in the United States, you cannot tell somebody that something is or is not an investment. An investment in its simplest form is I'm giving you money with the expectation of a return. At the bottom line, that's what it is. It doesn't matter what's a tangible product, intangible. If I give you money for it with the expectation of a return, that's an investment by core definition of said. You can't say this because the whole reason you buy cryptocurrencies, especially theirs, is you expect a return. You can't guarantee a return. You should say that. We can't guarantee that you're going to get a positive return. You might end up with a negative return. You might end up with a loss. These are things, yes, you should say. They should not say it's not an investment. That's not true. It's an investment because you gave money. If Terrarium gave you the cryptocurrency with you putting no money in, then what they say is correct. It's not an investment because you didn't put any money in there, right? If it was you put money in and we tell you it has no price value, you're just paying us for something. You're just buying something. Okay, then that would be correct. You're putting money in because you expect a return. That is an investment. They can't say that. They couldn't say that. To the point, and great transition. Thank you for the comment. I did a follow-on video. They changed the verbiage, rightfully so. Now they basically said, well, if you're in the US, you can't buy, sell this. Do you know why? Because they knew what I was saying was the truth, which is in the United States, you can't tell people what is or is an investment. If you give money with an expectation of ROI, it is an investment, bottom line, period. Yeah, so without that disclosure to consider sincerity, no. The Howey test does apply in situations where there's an expectation of return. That's true, but being a security has nothing to do with whether it's an investment by definition. An investment by base definition simply says you expect a return. The securities part of the Howey test applies if there's something that they're doing that causes positive price movement that drives that ROI. That's the catch. That's the catch between. That's why the XRP is saying throw this crap out. There's nothing, they can't prove that anything that we're doing causes price movement. In Terrarium, they're building utilities. Yes, true. However, they never promised you that the utility would increase the price. You expect it would, but that's not guaranteed. They didn't guarantee that. No, the Howey test, what you're talking about, that segment only applies if you promise that what you're doing is going to ramp the price for you. Ethereum Max is a great example of this. Ethereum POW is another great example. They're telling you straight up, by us doing this, you're going to make some money. That's what it is. Do you plan to have call in at some point? Just not right now because that takes a screening. But at some point, yes. At some point in the future, that is on deck to do. Yes. Just side note though, on the Howey test, and trust me, this ties to XRP, but it also ties separately on Howey on the stock side. They want to see, are you promising a return by way of something you're doing? That's why Bitcoin has never been considered a security by even the Gary Genslers of the world, ever. Because Bitcoin, it's a free market something. Its price is influenced, but it's a free market something. It's just out there. It doesn't do anything. There's no team building something that's promising you a return in Bitcoin. Sure, you can lend it. Sure, you can borrow it. Sure, you can trade it. That's about all you can do with it, right? With Terrarium, Let's take SHIB. SHIB, using SHIB itself as gas on Shibarium, creates this utility. Having it do that by itself isn't necessarily passing the Howey test, because it doesn't correlate directly to a price movement. It might, but it might not. If nobody uses the blockchain, you don't get any positive. If they promised you that it would, then they would violate the Howey test or pass it in that case, because they're promising you a thing. Terrarium acknowledging, okay, for US, you're not gonna be able to get into this business. That's not gonna work. Sorry, no. Okay, they can't enforce that, but them doing that is an acknowledgement of what I'm saying, which is you can't make the statement it's not an investment. That's the bottom line. You can't. What they should have done to do it right is to say, although this is an investment of your assets, we can't guarantee you any return on your investment. That would have covered them. That would have covered their ass straight. Because now you're saying, yeah, it's an investment because you're giving us money. We can't guarantee you anything on the return. We don't know what's going to happen. We can't guarantee on the back. What you can't do, though, is tell people your money's going to be worthless when you give it to us. That's basically what this first line had said. That's why they changed it, because they knew that wasn't going to work. But the point is, fast forward now, and they do this major dump because they sell off the marketing wallet. Well, selling off the marketing wallet, you know what that did? That basically acknowledged this. That's why they put it in there, because they're basically saying we can take the money all we care to and use it how we care to because you gave it to us. Under crypto, yes, that's true. There's nothing stopping it. Under crypto, that's true. They couldn't do this on the stock side. It would never fly. It would never fly, because fiduciary responsibility is the thing. You have to take care of investor funds, and you can't just take money without disclosing what you're doing, why you're doing it. And in a perfect world, you do that before you take it. But in crypto, we allow the devs to just do whatever, because that's kind of the trust part of it. And Terrarium, to its credit, did a great job of building up that trust. It's just misplaced trust through no fault of the investors. The problem is that they should not openly say, screw you, your money's going to be worthless when you give it to us. Terra went back because they lied. That's part of it. The other part of it is that they presented product, right? And they continue to do so. But then they just take, and then in their mind, and I'll get to this when I cover Believes, in their mind, it's like, well, yeah, we need the money for the expenses. Nobody debates that. Nobody has any problem with the fact you need the money. The problem is you didn't warn, number one. Two, there's better ways to take it out without affecting your investors. Three, Milton went on Twitter and he told people, yep, buy in now, buy in now, buy in now, and then immediately dumped after they pumped it. That's unethical, borderline unethical. That's unethical. So what you're doing is you're putting a bad taste in people's mouths when you do that. And the only theory people have is that that's just the way that the team works. Okay, well, how can a team sustain that? How can you live long-term working that way? You can't, and they won't, in my mind. And I'm just saying that's why I never covered it, because I didn't see anything substantial that told me they're worth covering at that point. I did high-level spot things of, I don't like this, that's why I'm not covering them. This guy here, I said, okay, they changed it, cool, so I'll take a look at it. Then, good transition to my third one, and then they did all this nonsense. These guys they kept screwing up, right? So now they're screwing up again. This is the whole listing on the exchange. They fabricated an email saying they're going to get listed on the exchange. They cause unreasonable pumps off it. Turns out it's not going to list on exchange. Sentiment's harmed. Silly, stupid, but the fabrication of the email was the cherry on the top. So yes, there's that lie. There's also the fact they are building things, and then they're taking investors' money to do it, which is fine if they communicated that and the plan to do it, and ideally an accounting of expenses. Because I guarantee you, if anybody did an accounting of expenses, they're not going to find that 100% of it was used on the stuff they built. They're going to find that some of it was used to pay salaries. Okay, who approved the salary amounts? Wasn't the investors. That's fine. It's their business. They can do what they want to do. And as investors, the feedback I would share is this is why I never covered them, because I needed to take some time and let them prove themselves out. Either prove that they're sketchy and scummy and shady, or prove that they're on the up and up. You've never seen Everrise do crap like this. Never. So, so I was okay covering Everrise. But with them, yeah, your logo looks good, the building, all that, that's fine, but I needed time. Prove yourself out. Show me you're worth my freaking money. Because I wasn't going to do a coverage. First of all, I didn't want to be unfair. I don't want to miss something. But second, I wanted to make sure there wasn't something under the hood that I wasn't seeing, obviously, because they did a really good job of their surface marketing, and I needed to go underneath, just watch it. So I just watched at a distance and said, let's see. Either you're going to work out and I got you wrong, or you're going to prove me right and just come back and get my credit. I don't care at this point. But this recent dump, like I even know they in their mind, it's like, well, yeah, you gave us the money. We're going to use it for what we need to. Nobody debates that, dude. But you got to tell your investors before you do it. And ideally, you should justify why you need to do it now. Ideally, you should justify why you need to do it in bulk. Ideally, you should explain why you're not doing it in segments. Ideally, you should explain why hurting the chart makes any damn sense. Ideally, you should explain these things. The fact that they won't even talk. See, the thing is, they talk to certain influencers, quote unquote, but they don't talk to people who are trying to talk them through this stuff from a business perspective. They don't. They'll duck the smoke. They've ducked the smoke on me. They've ducked the smoke on a couple of others who just want to talk it out and say, we need you to explain what the hell you're doing. Because we see flags that may or may not be a thing, but we see flags, and we don't want to see investors get jacked over silly, stupid mistakes, that's what that is. I don't know where we get to this point where we do stuff right. Lillian Finance is another great example. Silly, stupid mistakes. They don't want to talk to conservative people helping them understand this is a bad decision you're about to do. Like what they really need is consultant, contractor type person in front of the decision that says every decision you're about to make that's going to touch that chart, you come through here, you talk to us first and we'll tell you, sure, we don't see an issue, or yes, there's an issue, here's it is, and here's what you mitigate, and before you make that decision. Instead, they just do it, right? Don't apologize for it, because Terraria never apologized for the lie about Binance or whichever. Terraria never apologized about the dump. I just looked at Milton's. He's still over there shilling, said, yep, we're in a good spot. Deep, deep, deep. At no point did they say, you know what, that was a bad decision. We shouldn't have done that. We realized it hurt investor sentiment. We realized we harmed you. They don't care about the investors. To them, you're just a source of liquidity. How is that any different than, somebody who invests in somebody as a whale and then they treat you as exit liquidity? That's basically what they turn their investors into, is a form of exit liquidity without the exit. They're just taking your money and doing a thing. That means the chart will never get to a point. It'll never get to a peak. The money's just going to them. Okay, I personally don't agree with this. That's why I didn't cover it, because if they're not going to talk to me to help me understand why they're doing that, their red flags is weed all over the place, and I'm not going to enrich them. I'm not going to endanger the investors. I'm not going to do that. I refuse. They might be great people. I don't know, and I don't care. At the end of the day, mine is, how are you treating your investors? How are you doing with your investors? And I frankly don't see that they care about the investors. That's a concern, probably the top concern, more than anything else. It reminds me, and the other part of this, they're just like Satama in that regard, and now just like Lily Finance in that regard, just like Para Token, now called Para Works in that regard. Like all of them do the same thing. All of them, each and every one of them do the same thing. Like you can predict it now. They all do the same thing. If they build some sort of an LLC over top of it, if they build some sort of business, and then they start having communications, right? They put these leaders out there and they have these communications and all these great looking marketing things and all this other stuff. They all do the same thing, which is they'll stop listening to investors. They just go forward. They just start launching crap without finishing anything to look good to the investors to get more money dumped in there. That's what I saw. So I didn't cover it until I saw what I now see, which is, okay, I was right all along. I can't trust them. I can't trust them with my money, certainly, and I would never recommend them to go in there. Marshawn Lynch, a football player, says, quote, went with Pulse Trump coin yesterday over Terrarium. I don't cover anything on the Pulse, and I already talked about that on the weekly because they're subject to SEC investigations on Schiller. So I do not talk about anything about that. Anything that has the word Pulse in it, you will never hear me talk about for the same reason. They need time to work it out. And plus, I did a cover on Zen Crypto, which apparently has a connection over to Hex. So that's, same thing. Quote, anything Awesome Austin shills is crap in your opinion. I don't know, because I don't follow Awesome Austin. I don't follow many of the ones that go directly to projects like Adam Captain, or I don't follow their channels. I have a policy. If it gets too much hype on social media, I don't do coverage on it. And then people are like, I had people say, well, yeah, then you're behind. No, I'm ahead. I'm ahead of it. Strange Enu was getting hype on social media. And there was tons on that one. And I ignored it. I saw it. I ignored it. Nothing. What happens? It rug pulls. I come in after the fact. The vast majority of them could not have read that freaking audit at all. And they get rug pulled, and then investors get rug pulled as a result. That's why I don't cover hardly anything that gets hype on social media. If I'm covering something that was hyped at some point, it's like long after the fact. After they've proven failure, then I go and cover it. Because at that point, now it's okay, let's do an analysis. What went wrong? And I think it's more valuable when you're learning, because I'm a learning platform. I'm not a YouTuber. I'm a podcaster. I educate people that listen to me to say, here's what we should have looked out for when you're assessing a project. Here's what didn't work right. So when I talk about garbage like this up at the front 9 months ago with this terrarium business, seeing that verbiage automatically is a red flag to avoid the damn thing. Well, here we are, ladies and gentlemen, 9 months later. And what happened? They dumped on you because, quote, there's no guarantee of liquidity that's telling you we can dump on you whenever the F we feel like it. They were already warning you they were about to do that. Okay. Then they changed the verbiage and says, well, if you're in the United States, you can't do it. Why? Because they knew in the United States what they said before was essentially illegal. You can't do that. If it's an investment, it's an investment. They were already in the mind. I need to warn people, we're going to take your freaking money whenever we feel like it. They warned us this, right? That's why I never covered it. And then I just waited, marinate in the cut, wait, watch, see what happens. Because at the end of the day, either I'm right or I'm wrong. And if I'm right, come back and give my credit. But if I'm wrong, I'll acknowledge that I was wrong. I wasn't wrong here because what happened? They just dumped on you. They took liquidity from you. They dumped it. That's the problem. User Crypto Fitness and Gaming. Heard of Lotto Group token? Have not heard of it. And anything that has the word lotto, I'm likely going to avoid like the plague just because that's just how I am. Speaking of, though, this terrarium business, because I want to play what Bleav said, because Bleav has done more coverage about terrarium than a lot. And even he, on this show that happened a couple of days ago, talked about this. So he talked about basically that, you can't just dump off a project like this and cause investor harm. So when you look at the graph and the impact of the graph that happened here, see this dump right there? That's devs. The devs took money out of it. But more importantly, it's a bad look. It's a bad look overall when you do that because you're giving the investors the impression that you just don't give a damn about them, especially because just prior to this event, Milton had gone on Twitter and he told them, yep, go ahead and pump in there, add more money, dump more money, add more money, doop, and then did the dump. That's pump and dump, like definition of pump and dump. And why is that acceptable to do that to your investors ethically? And I'll say this because I haven't said it yet, if you're a gambler and don't care, I celebrate you, I respect you. I, as a platform, always will hold these accountable when I see they're doing this garbage, when they're seeing that they're treating investors this way. I don't support this. I don't support it. I don't celebrate it. It is not for me to welcome that because at the end of the day, the treatment of your investors is what makes crypto succeed. And so I personally felt like, okay, this thing is just, I'm not sold and I will not celebrate and I will not welcome it. And then the reason I have this logo here, by the way, there was a token called Made a Bull Run years ago or months ago. Made a Bull Run had the same verbiage and it rug pulled. It had locked liquidity. It had the whole nine and it rug pulled. Crypto Fitness Gaming, creator of Lotto Group token. Welcome. Appreciate that. Once again, though, ethically, I don't cover it if it's got Lotto in the name. However, if you believe that your token is on the up and up, I'm happy to do any coverage that you'd like to. Just let me know, and I'm happy to do that. Just not today, but I'm happy to do that at any other point. So then, Lillian Finance. Lillian Finance, this is a talk piece, and this is pretty much my wrap up. Real quick, and then I'll take additional questions. But Lillian Finance. Anybody and then I got a brief on Terra LUNA Classic. It won't be that long, but Lillian Finance is a big thing. Lillian Finance, for those that don't know, Lillian Finance spins up. Initially was going to be aligned with Saitama. Saitama screws up the failed November 13 Vegas event. Screws up. So Cytomask is a no-show. Lillian says, I got to go on. I got to do this. They launch. It's a catastrophic failure because of Dell rug pull, aka Dell Crypto, stealing money off the project. Fast forward, it's now getting some pumps. We're seeing some pumps, and then they announce that they're going to be on Coinbase. And some of us are skeptical. Coinbase, really? Because Coinbase doesn't list tokens with those tokenomics. Excessive supply, a burn mechanic, reflection mechanic. Coinbase doesn't list those. But this idiot, who I refer to as the Bald Russ, I think his name is Barney, the Bald Russ, or Luis, I think it's Luis, maybe, I don't know. But he's bald, he's obvious, right? And he's shilling, he's hyping and Lillionaire and all this crap, and he's doing all this. Okay, fine. I'm still skeptical. You can go back in the archives. I did multiple videos that said I don't think that's going to happen because of Coinbase's, tolerance. They don't do crypto like that. But there's a couple of people, Barely Bearable, Ryan Patrick, and a couple others that they're supporting, and they're doing coverage, and they're saying, okay, this might be a thing. And Believe said, I was on the call, I heard it. The call I hadn't watched at the time, but I watched Crypto Journeys, Rodney, I guess you call him Fudney. I watched his, he played a snippet of it. And apparently this Brad, he has his kid read the announcement. Yeah, we're going to be on Coinbase. That's a form of child exploitation. Just to be clear, that's a form of child exploitation. Child exploitation includes where you're using a child for financial gain. You can get locked up for that. And I know he knows that because he already has fraud charges against him. He's already had his run-in with the law. So I know he knows that. So that's already sketchy because he's already run afoul of the law over here. And then he's doing this over here that he's got to know is illegal. And I don't buy that he didn't know this. So already I'm connecting that this is terrible. It's bad. And so I had done high-level coverage of Lillian, but not to the deep degree. There's nothing wrong with the code. It's the people. Again, they act like Saitama. They all act like Saitama. The Terrarium people act like Saitama. The Lillian people act like Saitama. They all act like Saitama. They all do the same thing, which tells me somebody is talking, the same person is consulting with all these people on how to do their cryptocurrencies. And I think it's Dell Rugpull, Dell Crypto. I think he's the one who's telling them to all do it like this. And for whatever reason, they're listening to him, probably because he has millionaire friends. That's a theory. Notice all these projects pump millions in there and then dump out millions and never get back to that level that they had. And Dell Crypto apparently is involved in each and every one of these. Don't you find that sketchy? I find that sketchy. Dell Crypto was in Lillian. Dell Crypto was in Saitama. I can't prove he was in Terrarium, but it wouldn't surprise me. But Dell Crypto is involved. Everywhere you turn around, I think he's telling them to go a certain way, like it's a template, like you can see they're all doing the same crap, every last one of them. And so when I watched that, I'm like, this is kind of shady. And this Lillian and using your kid and being so firm, and Bald Russ talking about, yep, you guys don't know, and showing a picture of Kobe Bryant and all this crap, talking about we're going to get on Coinbase, and then we do the countdown, and Crypto Journeys and Jake again talking about we'll put 10 ETH in the thing. Like, this is horrible. This is horrible. And Crypto Fitness Game, if you don't know Dell Crypto, find yourself fortunate. Dell Crypto's all over Twitter. He's a guy on Twitter. He gets involved in projects and he has wealthy friends. He gets in there and he dumps off of it. That's him. So I call him Dell Rugpull. He's only on Twitter though. He has some YouTube stuff, but yeah, he's all over social media. He's embedded in these projects. So now with Lillian, they don't get listed. Day comes, don't get listed, and it dumps. Rightfully expected, it dumps. Will it recover? I don't know. But I know that the technology, at least the premise behind Lillian Finance, is a real thing. It's a real need, at least. Here's the risk. The risk is the people. Because if you ethically are going to put your freaking child up there to enrich yourself, I find that sketchy, shady, scummy, to the point I don't trust any of them. And Bald Russ over there shilling the thing, and he been dead silent since when he got caught his pants down and Vaseline off the side. I don't trust any of them. Just like I don't trust the Saitama team. I don't trust them. Just like I don't trust the Liberal team. I don't trust them. It's the people. You can have the greatest code in the world, but the people are the one who screw stuff up. I almost cussed right there. That's what we're dealing with here. That's what happened with Terrarium. That's what's happened with Lillian. That's what happened with Saitama. That's what happened with Libero. All of them are doing the same thing. All of them have great potential. That's why I believe Dell Rugpull is in front of this somehow, or behind the scenes, pulling strings, because they all do the same thing. That's not a coincidence. I find that no coincidence. I don't buy it. I don't buy it. I believe somebody is coordinating all these people to do the same crap and screw up great projects. How else can you explain the same pattern over and over the F again And there's only really one person getting made rich off that stuff. So I'm disappointed in Lillian Finance. I'm disappointed in the project. I'm disappointed in the people. The potential's still there, but not with the people that are there. It's just like Saitama. The potential's there, just not with the people that run the damn thing. As long as you got cult leader on Saitama, it's not going to succeed. As long as you got car salesman on Seifu, it's not going to succeed. As long as you got the idiots on the Libero, it's not going to succeed. As long as you got the whatevers on Terrarium, it's not going to succeed. Like, it's the people. It's always the people, and that's disappointing. Which, great segue, Luna Classic. And this is just the top point. Luna Classic's having major issues. Not technical issues, people issues. Again, Luna Classic has internal turmoil. You got the devs who want to get paid, fine, but then they want to do all these hoops to mint tokens in order to make sure they get paid, which is contradictory to what we started with. And when I first did the coverage on Luna Classic, I said manage your hopium because I suspected this might not work because it was a long shot at best. And I think people got hooked on the hopium and they ran full throttle. And then there were certain influencers who lied to people and told them that it was going to be a thing. Do I think Luna Classic will be a thing? Sure, just not in the short term. And with the people that I see and all the turmoil I see in their channel, I'm less confident about it now than I ever was. So I'm disappointed in Luna Classic because that one had an opportunity to really change the game. That one had an opportunity to do the greatest recovery story ever possible. Ethereum Classic was able to do it. And then this one can't. You got to correlate to the people because Luna Classic is better code than Ethereum Classic. That's all I got to say about that one. And I'm disappointed about all these projects. I'm disappointed about them because it's obvious that somebody's influencing behind the scenes. Somebody's pulling strings, and that's a real sad thing. With that, I will shut up and wrap up with questions for a few minutes here. If anybody has any additional questions, and for crypto, fitness, and gaming, like I said, my channel is unique in one regard. I cover projects that look like they've got potential. They look like they got long-term potential. They're taking care of the investors. They want to act like a real business. They want a real website up front of it. They don't force tell a scam. They want to act outside the bubble. And the best representation of the kind of way I do questions on the podcast, if you go in our archive and you look for HODL token, HODL token, I did an interview with them. That's basically my cadence. That's how I come at it. I believe I'm the most neutral out there in terms of that. I do not softball. I'll ask hard and I'll challenge and da-da-da-da-da-da-da. So, yep. So that's the only caveat on mine because I'm not a YouTuber. I'm a podcaster that just happens to have a YouTube channel. The YouTube channel is an extension of our podcast. That's why I'm different. That's why my delivery is different. That's why my messaging is different. That's why I don't have to really practice much of this. It's all on my head because I'm always constantly thinking about it on a regular basis. That said, any project, I always say, any project that wants to smoke, I'm happy to chat with. I'm happy to talk through, have them on the podcast and talk it out. Just the only thing is, they've got to have those fundamentals and treat their investors correctly, and they want it to win. And I want to be proven wrong in anything I see. So I'm happy to do at least a coverage at some point here in the next week and just do a high level swag on Lotto Group. I'm happy to do that. User Kendall Sanders asked about Zen Crypto, which I did a video about recently. And the funny thing about that one, right? I don't know why there's so many diehards that develop in projects. I don't know why that is. I don't know why there's such a following that develops in projects to the point that people get emotionally invested in this. Like, to me, I have no emotional connection to any cryptocurrency I hold. I don't beholden any of those. I don't really, they're whatevers. They're just investments. It's all money. So I don't get all set off or angry or any of that. I just say it is what it is. It'll be what it'll be. But it seems like people get too emotionally invested in their projects. That's how I treat Zen Crypto now. I didn't initially, but I do now. Because I have a lot of diehards, not a lot, but I have some diehards that are coming out in force, even though everything I said is the truth and the same you can see yourself. I didn't say anything overtly negative about the project. What I said was, in summary for everybody else, I said that the person, Jack Levin, behind it, he is blinking excessively. If you noticed, I'm pretty much face straight to the camera for the vast majority of this. If you notice, I'm not doing excessively blinking as I talk to you. Body language, that's a thing. You can search it yourself. They'll tell you Anybody who's not practicing eye contact, anybody who's excessively blinking is hiding something. That's what that says. That's not me making it up. You can see it yourself. What I said was, if you don't care, great, because there's no financial risk of a thing. That's what it is. So I just said, okay, if you want to, go ahead. I'm just saying I wouldn't personally. There's nothing wrong with it per se, but I would be a little bit, there's something weird about the Jack Levin. That's all I really said. I can't speak to the copy of Hex, can't speak to any of the rest of it, because it doesn't really matter, because at the end of the day, you can buy and sell free market just like Hex, but a lot you can do that. So that's not really fair. It's really just about him. So if he wants to smoke, that's fine. I'll welcome him on the podcast and talk to him, but I would expect him to practice eye contact and not blink excessively, or I'll call him out on it. That's all. Kendall Sanders, Zen is Crown multi-chain. I called that out on the thing, and I'll just straight say, who cares? Because it doesn't matter that you're on multi-chains. It doesn't matter. Nobody cares that you're on multi-chain. It helps if you're already in it. It doesn't help entice new traffic. I like the new money. I like the money that's not in crypto. The money that's not in crypto don't care that you're on multi-chain. They just care that at the end of the day, I can go to a website, because that's how regular people work. They pull up a search engine, they pull up your website, and they want to understand what they're dealing with. That's not how Zen Crypto works by default, because they steer you to two different websites, which is confusing outside the bubble. That's all I said. The multi-chain, who cares? That's in the bubble. If you're inside of it, yeah, that sounds great. Do. But let's be honest here. If you're going to buy it, you're going to buy it on the centralized exchange. The centralized exchange doesn't care about your networks. User Crypto Fitness and Gaming. If they were Nigerian, people would have stopped buying the tokens and not give them second chances. And, well, maybe, but that's assuming that we knew that. And that's assuming that that's, because sometimes there are, like, I don't think the background of the person really matters at the end of the day. Like, there are people that are from India. People don't know Dubai is a tech center. Dubai is a tech hub. Dubai is where it's at. So just because somebody is, quote, Indian doesn't necessarily mean that they're scammers. I don't think that's it at all. I think you just have to prove it out. You have to watch them. They have to make a claim and prove it. And if they can't prove it, you hold them accountable. I think it's that simple, regardless of their ethnicity or race, gender, creed, color, him or her. If they're going to make claims, they got to back it up. I think it's that simple. And people have to stop jumping in just because they make a promise of a thing, and jump in when they actually deliver a thing. And that's a hard culture shift, in my opinion. Pulse Chain, Hex, Crypto, PX. Interesting point. Richard Hart and Jack Levin vampired the Hex community and then created a proof of bot token that jacks the users. Richard Hart said, yeah, so I saw the video, and this is one of the videos where he was, again, blinking excessively, eye contact down. Okay, well, Richard said, this is going to hurt the blockchain, right? Because there's minting, going to hurt the blockchain, gas fees, I disagree with him. He's not wrong, but I disagree with him, because yes, that's true if it were not Ethereum. If it, like Polygon, that happened, right? Polygon was brought to its knees. Phantom was brought to its knees, but Solana, but that has not happened on Ethereum. We had minting like NFTs, but then that just raises gas prices. I didn't see, at least in my opinion, that project cause any detrimental impact on anything else. I didn't see it. So while he's not wrong that yes, there's excessive traffic that's unnecessary, I don't think it changes anything, because what's the alternative? You mint it one time for, trillions of tokens or whatever, and you're done. How's that any different from shrinking a couple million here and there? I don't see that the impact is there that he's talking about. I don't see that. And then as far as the proof of bot token, I didn't see any of this, but it doesn't surprise me. And actually, to the credit, if they did something to try to identify bots and mitigate them, I think that's better, because there's a lot of tokens that get meved all the freaking time and get their stuff drained off of them, in my opinion. And then Crypto Fitness Gaming, yeah. If Russ was Nigerian, they wouldn't give him. I don't agree. I don't agree with that at all. That's what I'm saying. I don't agree. I don't think it means anything at all. Because here's the thing. The way that Saitama pitched their business leading up to the failed November 13th Vegas event had nothing to do with what they look like at all. A lot of it was around telescam and just communicating to people, this is what we're going to do. We're going to make this wallet. We're going to change finance. We're going to change the game, and et cetera. And it was a U.S. business at the time. So now, and then also it was banked, the initial developer, just people didn't know this, the original developer behind Saitama was aligned with the developer of SHIB. So now you already have this connection and known population in play. So that buildup prior to November 13th had nothing to do with who was behind the project. I think what happens with the whole Nigerian connection, Santa Coin, great example. That was a Nigerian developer and it tanked the project because he was Nigerian, but they weren't doing anything. We're talking about Santa Coin, and he didn't want to do any marketing in the first weeks of December. That's what really caused it. It's like, okay, you're killing the business. You're not doing what you're supposed to do. All of a sudden he shows a video and it's like, oh, that's why you're trying to rip us off. It's different. Like if the thing is succeeding, if the thing is delivering, like Santa Coin is still tradable now. It never crapped. He didn't market it. He didn't do anything. If it delivers, I don't think people care. I don't, because we're in a greed society. I think as long as it delivers and it does what it says it's going to do, I don't think people care. I think the same as in Satama. Satama had the benefit of banking off SHIB and banking off Doge to a lesser degree at the time in 2021 when everything was pumping. That's really what it is. If Satama had launched in 2022, it would have been anywhere near as successful as it was. It benefited off the time. It benefited off of everything around it. It benefited from, it cheated. They basically cheated, and that's fine. And it didn't matter who was behind the project because you still had those hooks to SHIB, hooks to Floki, hooks to Kishu. You still had all this. Suzuki was connected at the time. That was getting a bunch of pumps. It benefited from the time. It didn't benefit from anything other of the people at all. Because cult leader, he didn't do anything other than hype. He's a hype master, but he's not doing anything. Max, we know now he wasn't doing anything. And now look, they have a folks from India doing the developing, and it's getting to a better product. Well, think about this. If they had done that in 2021, November 13th would have been amazing. We're talking what, 50 billion market cap? Satama would have been amazing if they had just done that. Hired the skilled people, get them in there, focus on getting that mask perfect before you announce a thing, get it perfect, have it ready to go, so that when November 13th happens, yes, it will be available day one. You can trade, swap. Don't focus on a mobile app. Create a web interface alongside. Like, do you see what I'm saying? Like, they learned, okay, that was stupid. It is what it is. I don't know. How often do you go live? We go live every Sunday. It's roughly same time. I might shift time, but we go live every Sunday. Every Sunday on clockwork. Every other video is a pre-record. We go live every Sunday for our public. The only time I would change that is if something outside of my control is going to happen. Like, for example, I'm planning to relocate in January, physically relocate in January. So my plan is possibly to have at least that one, if not more, episodes happen Friday, because I record the podcast every Tuesday and Thursday. So either I record Friday or Saturday, because I'm going to be traveling Sunday to get to the new place. I haven't committed that. I'll announce that if that's the case, but my plan right now is Sunday, unless I decide, okay, maybe Saturday makes better sense, or Friday. Sunday, same time. The other thing I got to watch out for on Fridays is my other endeavors, because this is not my full time. So my other endeavors, I'm occupied full day. So if I do Friday, it will be an evening recording, which might not be a bad thing, but I have annoying neighbors, so I got to play that. Invested in Satama the third week, 4 or 5. Discovered they were a scam. Satama was never a scam. Satama was never a scam. Satama was incompetence. Satama was arrogance. Satama was ego. Satama was bad planning. Satama was the wrong people. Like, it was everything else you could ever not want in a project other than being a blatant scam. Satama was never a scam because, remember, V1 of Satama, locked liquidity, renounced contract. They couldn't cheat you. They could dump, and they did dump. But if they were given those tokens, which they were, they're entitled to sell them. So is it unethical? Yes. That's not a scam. It's just they're unethical people. We knew that. Just like his wife and her new whip, they were dumping tokens to buy that and fund that lifestyle. We knew this. It's not a scam. They were given those tokens. They were airdropped those tokens. Blockchain confirms this. The first developer gifted them the initial set of tokens, and they waited to dump until the week prior to the failed November 13th event. Not a scam, just unethical, because they were granted tokens that they dumped on the community around. In this new one, think about it. The new one to this day is not renounced. The liquidity is not locked. If they wanted to have stolen the money, they'd have done it in the transition from 1 to 2. They didn't. They could have stolen any time post. They didn't. And they're still building. No, it's not a scam. They're just unethical, incompetent people. That's what you're dealing with. They don't know what the heck they're doing. That's 100%. That's 100%. The people behind this, mostly the cult leader, the people behind this are arrogant, ego-driven people who have a big head because the community created the Rust We Trust cult, and it gave him a big head that he could do no wrong. That's what that is. And that's always what that's going to be. So that's what I believe. I mean, the big picture about all these projects, every last one of them, like I said, they're all doing the same thing. You can analyze and see the pattern that they all are doing the same thing. They all have no issues dumping on people that are invested. They all have no issues lying to people when it suits. And the vast majority of them, because I think, like, let's say, Lilly Finance. I do believe Lilly talked to somebody at Coinbase. I believe that. But the thing is, I think what happened is Coinbase said, okay, we told you not to announce this crap. And since you're going to do that, well, screw you. We're just not going to list you. I think that's what happened. I think they, by their arrogance, them announcing a thing is what cut them off. I think that's also what happened to Terrarium. I think that's also what happened to Satama. I think they are talking to them and they're getting somebody to say it's cool. And then they're violating the NDA. And then somebody up there is saying, all right, screw you, jackoffs. Now that might be Del Crypto at law. I don't know. That's causing unreasonable, pump and dump. Could be the exchange themselves, enriching themselves. Don't know. It's a shady business, which is why I said with ones like Zen Crypto, it's important that we do things like analyze body language and analyze their patterns and watch what they're doing. It's not just about the token because you can't know. You can't know if you're being told the truth. They might be straight lying to your face. Let's talk about the car salesman on Seifu. He does videos all the time. He's fully KYC'd. It doesn't matter because he's ripped off 4 projects before. So what good is it, right, that you say a thing, but you watch him and you're like, this guy is shady as all hell. That's what it is. I know they said Coinbase gave him permission, but who in Coinbase? If it was lowly tech support rep Joe said, yeah, go ahead and do it, that wouldn't have been acceptable to me. I would have wanted, in this case, Zach, who's the one who cut him off at the balls. I'd want Zach. I'd say, who's your head of listing? I want an email from him that says it's okay to list this crap. And if you guys go back on it, we can sue your asses. Like, that's what you're supposed to do. Because if this were real business, not crypto, that's what you would have done. You would have got it in writing from the top level of that. And you'd have said, I want it in writing. It's okay. And thanks for stopping by. I appreciate it. I want it in writing. No, this is cool to do it. And if I don't get that, we're not doing business. That's real business. And they didn't do that. And they know they screwed up. They know. And I'll take a look at Lotto Group and do a swag on it sometime this coming week for Crypto Fitness Gaming. And as long as I don't see anything concerning, then I have no problems, talking it out and, letting folks know what the deal is on that one. You're coming. I think cryptocurrency is in a rough spot. And a lot of it's because of these arrogant devs, which is sad. It's sad because there's so much potential. And I'll still say, for anybody still listening, I've always told people the core coins can never steer you wrong. They can never steer you wrong. Solana is kind of questionable. Compound, certainly questionable. But Ethereum can't steer you wrong. Bitcoin can't steer you wrong. Polygon, it's got issues, but it can't steer you wrong. Phantom has its moments. They can't steer you wrong. They can't. That's where the money's going to come back. And I can assure you that there are people that are buying crypto even now. Really rich people are buying dips. You can't see it because they're purposely buying it in a way to where you can't see it because they know there's going to be a run. It's a matter of time, and they're stacking these bags to get to the point where they're going to make major amounts of money. I firmly believe that, and nobody will change my mind. But they're not buying the lesser tokens anymore. They're buying the main, mostly Ethereum at this point. Ethereum is where everybody I see is going. Ethereum is where they see the future, and to a second degree, BNB, Binance Coin. That's where they see the money's going to come back. I agree with that. I firmly agree with it, especially BNB. I think BNB is going to be huge, huge, if nothing else, way larger than what it was in 2021. And that's exciting, but I don't like seeing sketchy projects that are, benefiting off investors' hard-earned money, especially not with inflation and everything else. It's unethical. That's what we got, is unethical people. Even if it's not a scam. Like, I can't say 100% that Terrarium isn't. I just said it seems like it's not. It seems like they're just stupid. But it might very well be a scam for all I know with what they did. Nobody really knows. Even some of the people that previously covered it admitted, you know what, they're not working with us the way we're supposed to do. And that's greatly, greatly concerning. So, all right, I'm going to wrap it up. I appreciate the chat. I appreciate everybody stopping by to watch. If you think of something after the fact, feel free to leave it in the comments. I do filter those out for spam, and those will be released once I've reviewed and everything. I will do a high-level review for Lotto Group, as I agreed to do sometime this coming week. We'll be back on the podcast side at cryptotalkradio.net on Tuesday for our regular programming, and then we'll be back again on the live for now on Sunday. Next Sunday, roughly same time. We'll be back talking about more stuff, and hopefully we'll be talking about some good stuff, because December's looking much better than it did, and that's great. Hopefully it stays that way. Hopefully we don't have any further disruption to people getting some money back after this tough time. So without that, without seeing, because I didn't see, Bleeze stop by. I want to give Bleeze a shout out for just referencing what he had done and his comments and quote. I didn't want to use his audio, but check out his channel and that video in particular if you'd like. That's one of his Bedtime with Bleeze episodes from 2 days ago, where he goes into kind of the comments, because he's done coverage of Terrarium. If you're interested in Terrarium and the situation there, if he's criticizing what happened, you know that it certainly was not acceptable. I'll just bottom line like that. So until next week, take care. Thank you once again. And please, please, please don't get caught up in this crap. Please don't get hooked on this. It can be frustrating, especially watching graphs. Try not to get hooked on it. Keep a roof over your head. Keep food on your table, because your people matter more than any of this crypto stuff.